Enjoy your meeting.
All right, well, welcome to the weekly role-play training call for our new sales process. This is I encourage you to get not only yourself on this call, keep your phone lines open, we'll discuss, we'll talk about what's going on, but the biggest thing is we've got to be able to practice what we're preaching here, and I would encourage you to put your employees on these calls. These calls will be different than the training videos that come out. I'll summarize these calls so they're on the Bloomfire or interactive chat forum. We'll also have a curricula that's coming out that'll be in Turtle, so people could we could track whether they completed it or not. But again, part of what happens in learning, the first part of learning is going to happen with exposure. You've got to be exposed to something. But I could promise you this, exposure does not mean that you learned it. It does not mean that you know it. Most companies, most training companies, most people who talk about training, it's really what they're doing is exposing people to something. But until somebody has it down in their nervous system, until they've actually practiced it, like I could give you a video and I could give you a manual and I could have you watch a training on how to ride a bicycle. But until you get on the bicycle and do it, you have not learned it. So the first step is exposure. The second step is going to be demonstration. We'll work on these classes to demonstrate what we're going to be learning about. And then I'm going to have to hold you accountable. If you have a webcam, if you don't have a webcam, go get one because it's going to be better if I could see you, just like what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to turn on my webcam so you can see me, but I want to be able to see you. And when we start getting into this aspects of overcoming objections and how to do pre-closes and trial closes and what you're going to be saying in different scenarios, as best as I can virtually, even shaking hands, I want you to put your hand out, and I want to see you putting your hand out so we can get this aspect down. So what we talked about at our national meeting was how to get to that 20% increase. Everything we're focusing on is the most fundamental things that could be executed to help you get that 20% increase. We've got to look at what can we do. There's an array of things that we can do. There's a buffet of things that we can do. But then we've got to say what could be implemented immediately that's going to be the lowest cost to implement, and then how do we execute it? And it's not going to be just us giving you this list of stuff that says do this, do that, do this, and everything's going to be great in your store. You've got to go through those learning steps: exposure, demonstration, practice, and role-playing, the support and coaching, and then we delegate and say, now you should be ready to rock and roll no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and we duplicate that system to your employees so they can do the exact same thing. So let's look at this 20% path to increase here. I'm going to share my screen in just a second. You should be able to see it. And when I do the summary videos online, the summary videos, when we do them on our interactive chat forum, I'll make them much quicker, so it's not going to take you as much time to actually go through them. So you could review them quickly, you could make sure your employees have watched them, and to do all that. So the 20% path, the path to the 20% increase. Now, the objectives are, like I said, to learn and know how to implement the most effective methods to increase sales. That's what we've got to do, to increase sales. What do we do in the retail business? What do we do in business? Well, we've got to acquire customers. And we should do everything in our power to grow and gain customers, which means increase revenue. If we don't do that and we begin to lose customers, they're not coming back, or the new ones are not coming into our door, then what happens is that we're not maintaining. Maintaining means we do everything in our power to not lose customers, which means don't lose revenue. So all the activities that we do on a weekly basis, daily basis, hourly basis, whatever decisions we're making, we should be looking at, does this help me acquire more customers, increase revenue, and does this help me maintain customers so I'm not losing revenue? And remember, where do customers come from? Customers come from people. I mean, the revenue comes from people. It's that simple, right? It's just what it is. Revenue comes from people. So we got to treat our people like gold. We've got to treat the people who are coming through our door like gold. Some of you I've already had conversations with. If you're listening to this on the recording, some of you have no problem telling a customer off. You have no problem saying, I don't want to deal with this customer anymore. You deal with them. Maybe we're not honest in some of the dealings with our customers, and we promise them one thing and they're getting something else. Or we try to, you can't do that. Because customers tell other customers, and the word spread, and then what happens is our business starts to go downhill quickly. So it's acquisition and maintenance of customers, which is the key here. So now let me ask you this. Now, if you're watching this on the video, I want to ask you this question. What can you do to increase revenue in your store? We know, first of all, the revenue comes from money. It doesn't come from any other place. I mean, the money comes from, the revenue comes from customers. That's who has the money. What can you do to increase revenue? What are some of the things that you can do to increase revenue? Think about this. You can do what? You could sell more to the people who are coming in the door. You could have more people come into the door. You could have them come in more frequently. You can increase the number of items that they buy, selling more part, increasing the average ticket. What can we do to increase revenue? We could reduce return percentage. If you reduce your returns by a couple $1,000s a month, is that real money? Absolutely, it's real money. If you reduce the discounts that we're doing, is that real money? Yes, that goes to the bottom line. That's real money. So there's not anything out there that's magical or mystical on how we can increase revenue. Look, we could bring in new customers like I talked about. We could have the total number of customers that are coming in on a daily basis increase. We could increase the total number of items per sale, the frequency the customer buys, the dollars per sale. We could reduce return percentage. We could reduce discounts. We could increase retail sales. It all fits together. We could do more add-ons. We can increase the closing rate, and I'm going to focus a lot on this. This call today is going to be a paradigm shift for some of you, and it's very important that you get this paradigm shift and understand this belief of understanding of what is actually going to make the difference in your store. Closing rate is very, very important. Now, the problem is what most of us do is we throw darts. We create goals, and then we track results. We say, go hit the bullseye on the dartboard, and they throw their dart, and they hit the 15, and you go, no, you hit a 15, you're supposed to hit the bullseye. And they throw a dart, and they hit the 5, and you go, no, you hit the 5, it wasn't right. It's like standing in front of bowling pins, and someone's holding a sheet up and say, throw the ball. And then they hit it, and afterwards it lights up on the screen and says, oh, you knocked down 4 pins. That is backwards, but yet that is what most people do. Is all they do is they create goals and track results. What we have to do is we have to start tracking the behaviors that produce the results. We have to be very conscious of the fact that if we are not holding ourselves, if you're just you and maybe someone else in your store, are we holding ourselves accountable, or are we holding everybody else accountable to the behaviors and not just the results? The results will change when we correct the behaviors. There's no other way around it. And it's always a behavioral issue of what we're doing. Now, it's just like, okay, you want to lose weight and you hire a personal trainer to hold you accountable, to say do 20 sit-ups, to run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, and he's going to whip your butt and he's going to get in your face if you're not doing it. You wouldn't hire a personal trainer that when you get on the scale, he just says, oh, yeah, you're still 240 pounds, you're still fat. Yeah, I know that. Well, you're supposed to be 205 pounds. Well, I know. Well, tomorrow I need you to see that you get down to 238. That's not a personal trainer. That's not a coach. That doesn't do anything but piss everybody off in the sense of saying it's not making me any better. So, one of the most important things that I want you to track and start looking at, though, is your closing rate. What is necessary to know your closing rate? For most of the things we could track throughout the computer. But there's one thing that we have to track that's going to be critical for us to hold people accountable to the behaviors, and that is knowing how many people come through our door on a daily basis. This should be not a question about it. 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you open the doors, 12 o'clock. How many people walk through the door? And at first, you know what you're going to get? I don't know. I mean, I think a couple people walked in through the door, and a lot of times they don't remember, or a lot of times they weren't focused on it. We have those lifestyle evaluation forms. I want every employee in your store, if you want to take this serious, to have a clipboard with their name on it. It has the lifestyle evaluation forms, and at the back of the clipboard, it has how many customers came in today. And you can make it as simple as possible. I'll make a form for you where it just check off, here's the date, check, 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 check. At 12 o'clock, there's going to be a conversation, and we're going to say, how many people did you talk to? I was at a store yesterday, and a customer walks in. Sales associate walks up to them. How are you today? How can I help you? The customer says, I'm just looking. We don't have a gigantic store. What are they looking at? They look, they don't see prices, they walk out the door. And the sales associate says, oh, that doesn't happen all the time. Yeah, right. That happens every single day, multiple times of the day, but because I was there, oh, that doesn't happen all the time. That customer needs to be tracked. One, I don't care if you go old school and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. I don't care if every person in the store has to have a golf clicker in their pocket. You've got to make this a big deal because you're not going to know your closing ratio if you don't talk about this. Every other thing that we talk about, if you don't have a way and a standard to measure if they're improving and we're actually implementing the sales process, it's a waste of time. You can invest some money if you wanted to. We have a couple franchisees right now, some of our top franchisees. We're working with them to get a very effective tracker that you could install that just when the customer crosses the beam, it gives you a count out of how many people walked in, and it also automatically adjusts so when they walk out, it counts them as one. That's another way to do it, which will reduce the error of them manually counting. But we should be at a 60% goal. We should be at a 60% closing ratio. Here's really the rules for most selling situations, especially retail. 33% of the customers who walk in are going to buy no matter what you do. No matter how good or bad you are in the selling process, just because they came in, most of the time 33% of them are going to buy. That's a third. A third of the customers are never going to buy. No matter how good you are, no matter how much you follow the sales process, they're just not going to buy. But a third of the customers are sitting on the fence, and it does depend on what we do with those customers. So this is the difference between being extremely profitable and growing and just being mediocre and settling for whatever just we're getting. We've got to track this. This is big, big, big. You've got to track how many people are coming in. I'm going to ask every one of you listening to this that you make the commitment to track. Not for me, I'm not going to look at it. This is going to be your conversations, because my goal, as I was talking to another franchisee earlier, is that my goal is to get you where you don't have to be in the business all the time, that you can work on the business as opposed to being in the business. Here's a quote that I heard years ago from a very, very successful entrepreneur, and he said, if you're the biggest clog in the wheel, the biggest cog in the wheel, then you're the biggest clog in the wheel. If you're the biggest cog, if you're the main part where everything else rotates around, then you're the biggest clog in the wheel. How do you do this? This is where we have to step up and say, you know what, we've got to do as much as we possibly can to improve the training, the accountability, so you guys could put an employee through the process and they will go ahead and get trained so they can run the store. I helped lead the training for a national franchise, and most of the successful franchisees weren't in the store. And we trained corporate GMs all across the country through GM boot camps and those type of things where they could run the store. This is not rocket science. If we could train a 19-year-old kid how to fly a $45 million jet, we can sure enough train somebody with a halfway decent IQ who has some motivation how to help run your store. I believe that firmly. So believe me, these are processes and systems and things that we're putting in place to help you become better and more profitable. So I asked this question. What can you do to immediately increase revenue? What can you do to increase revenue? And I get this email. This is a perfect email. I get this email from a new manager that's helping a franchisee, and it sends me this email. I used to get emails like this all the time, and I used to have conversations with managers and sales associates and franchisees all the time. Help me, they say. I'm a manager in need to grow my store. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exclamation points. I'm sure they meant marketing ideas. I left it exactly like they wrote it. I need marketing ideas. Urgent message. I don't know what size typed font that is, but that's big and red, and it's got 4 exclamation points. I'm the new sales manager. I need some marketing ideas to grow my store. 3 exclamation points. I have a jump start, but need to make some leaps and bounds to put my store on the map. I have a great crew, and we're hungry to make it happen. I believe this person is extremely hungry and motivated and energetic. But they're going to the thing which 99% of the people say when I ask them, what do you need to do to grow your store? Most of them say, marketing. We've got to do more marketing. And this is where I need you to get the paradigm shift and the understanding of why we're talking about sales processes and why we've updated the sales process and why we're rearranging some of the things that we do, because we believe that the money is there. You just got to know how to go out there and get it. So, fastest way to grow more customers. Traditional way, the traditional answer I hear is we got to market more. Well, let's look at this so you really understand this. And this might be a conversation that you have to have with the sales managers and the managers of your store, the sales associates of your store. Okay, the fastest way to grow more customers. If you think it's marketing, let's just look at this. Like I said, you got to track how many people are coming through your door every single day. This should not be just something that's optional. This should not be something that we don't talk about. If you don't focus on it, it's not going to have any difference. Where focus goes, energy flows. If you start focusing on how many people came in through the door and how many people were closing, you're going to start to see some differences. But let's just say you had 15 potential sales opportunities for the day. 15 people walked throughout the door. You can have a very profitable store even with this number. 15 per day. Now, here's the thing where you got to talk with your associates as well. Customer comes in, we say, hi, welcome to Foot Solutions. What brings you in today? They say, oh, I'm just waiting for my pizza at Pizza Hut. Is that customer a potential sales opportunity? You better believe it that they are a potential sales opportunity. Every person who comes through our doors is a potential sales opportunity. When I was in the store and the lady walks in and my sales associate walks up to them and says, how can I help you? And they say, just looking, in their mind, they don't count that as a potential sales opportunity. But it's a lost opportunity. So one of the things I want you to start talking about and having discussions about and bringing up with your associates is PSOs, the letter P, the letter S, the letter O, potential sales opportunities. How many customers are walking through our door? And if you had 15 opportunities per day, and let's just say you were at a 35% closing ratio, which is an average closing ratio, 3.5 out of every 10 people who walk through your door, you close. That would mean you had 136 sales for the month. 136 sales. Now, let's think about this. Put on your intelligent, educated hat right now. I know you're all smart. If you were to bring in one customer more a day through marketing, advertising, doing events, whatever you're going to do to bring in more people walking through. We had 389. We want to bring in one more person a day to walk through our door. Then what would that equal? Get out your calculators. 389 plus 26, which means we would have 439 potential sales opportunities for the month. That doesn't come cheap, by the way. It doesn't come cheap. We're going to talk about this. To bring in more people through your door is going to require some type of effort or some type of investment. You're going to have to spend money or you're going to have to spend time. Even if you meant walking door to door, which I wouldn't recommend, or you went into a parking lot and put out flyers on people's cars, which I wouldn't recommend. You're going to either have to do an effort or you're going to have to do an investment. At that same closing ratio that you had, 3.5 out of every 10 people who walk through the door, what is that going to equal? That's going to equal that you brought your sales up to 154 sales. You had 136. We brought in more people. You're at 154. That's 18 more. That's 18 more sales that we generated through marketing because you focused on bringing more people in, which is what I hear every day. I hear it every day at Foot Solutions. I've heard it every day in billion-dollar companies I've worked with. I've heard it in $100 million companies I've worked with. Everybody from the lowest associate to the franchisee to the managers and even sometimes the corporate staff would say the same thing. We got to bring in more people. Never focusing on the most important thing, which to me is the closing ratio. So let's look at this. That's this model through advertising and bringing in more people. How much does it cost to bring in new customers? Does anybody know the answer to that question? How much does it cost? How much do you have to spend traditionally on advertising to have another person walk through your door? The traditional statistics for retail say it costs you about $250 in advertising to have one more person walk through your door. But let's just say you've got your marketing down, you've got it zeroed in, you know the conversion rates, you know exactly what's bringing in, you've tested, you've split tested, and you've got it down to where you could even get that cost lower. Let's just say it costs you $150 in advertising money to bring somebody in through your door. Quick math, if you need 10 more people to walk through your door on a monthly basis, 150 times 10, it's going to equal $1,500 in output, in investment to have 10 more people walk through your door. How can you do advertising? You can do it through radio, you could do it through newspaper, you could do it through print, you could do it through postcards, you could do it through Every Door Direct, you can go through acquisition programs with mailers, you can do magazine advertising, you could do Valpaks if you went Groupons, I don't know. There's a million ways that you can spend money to potentially bring people in. Let's just say it's $150. So if you wanted to have 26 more people walk through your door, that means it would require approximately $3,900 in investment to have people walk through your door. For a lot of you, you don't have an extra $3,900. For some of you, you're willing to risk it. I don't like gambling. I've never gambled. I don't play the lotto. I don't go on company retreats. We used to go to casinos. I used to go eat ice cream at the ice cream bar and enjoy the buffet. I would never waste my money on gambling. This is too much of a risk. I like my money. But here you're spending potentially $3,900 hoping that you might bring in 26 new customers. But remember, 26 new people walking through the door is not 26 new customers. Because of your closing rate, it's really only 18 customers. So actually, your cost of acquisition still is higher than $150. You're still spending $216 for a new customer, not just a potential customer walking through your door. This is that model. And I want to break the cycle that goes through our brains and the patterns that goes through our brains, that this is the way we need to continually build our business. I believe in advertising when you got the other part right. I believe in marketing, but you try to get it as low cost as possible. And if it's going to cost you $800, $1,000, $1,500 to run an ad for a couple days, and you don't know what your conversion rate is, and you don't know whether that pull of that ad is effective or not, don't gamble. Let's just go eat ice cream and food off the buffet first. Got me? Okay, so let's look at this here. Or we increase closing ratio. If we increase closing ratio, let's just say we had the same customers who were walking through our door, but we increased the closing ratio. Let's just say it was the same 389 people who walked through our door for the month, 15 people a day. And we've got that closing ratio to 50%. 5 out of every 10 people who walk through our door, that means 5 still walk out, but 5 who walk in are buying something. 5, they walk out without buying anything. For every 10. What happens? 389 times a 50% closing ratio, and let's just say if we went to 389 with a 60% closing ratio, just 6 out of every 10 versus 5 out of every 10. Let's really do the math here. 50% means now we have 194 customers versus 136. That's 58 more customers that we had by increasing our closing ratio. If we get that closing ratio up to 60%, that's 233 customers, 97 more customers. So we could spend $3,900 and bring in 18, or we can go ahead and work on our closing ratio and what we're doing through the sales process and bring in 58 to 97. Even if you just went from 35 to 40%, but here's the question, and I want you to get this down, the importance of this. What is your closing rate today? There's only one way to know that. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. How many people walk through the door? I need to see your sheet. I need to see that you marked it down. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Every single day we start having that conversation because we're going to make a big deal about the biggest money that's out there on our sales floor. Now, we're going to be able to explode the growth of our store through now not only increasing the closing rate, but also increasing the average ticket. $139 is the company average right now. I come in as an outsider and I'm looking at that. This is pitiful. Let me just put it what it is. This is a pitiful average ticket rate. And I know I hear it from a lot of you guys. You have veterans associations that you work with, and you have medical associations, and you have medical things, and you have things that are lowering your customers' fine. But still, 139 is way too low. I believe that the minimum standard should be $200, even with those other things combined. I think it should be higher than that, but I'm not going to scare you with what I think we could really do. We've got to have the belief system and understanding and the belief that that is truly possible. But $139 is the company average. Let's just say you did go spend that $3,900 on advertising, and you did that, and you brought in 18 more customers. That's how you brought them in, through advertising. 18 times 139 times that average sale, we're going to say 150. You're not even at the low 139. Let's just say you're even higher than the average. That brings in $2,700 worth of business. How much did it cost you for the ad? $3,900. Oh, wow. We're negative $1,200. Now, we know the lifetime of our customers is easily $600. The customers stay with us for multiple years, 93% satisfaction rate. So we know eventually we'll make that money back and we'll break even and we'll have a customer acquisition cost. Lifetime value, it balances out. It's great, but look, you only brought in 18 customers. Your average ticket's $150. That's $2,700 more in revenue. What if you were able to, you did do it through the advertising method, and were able to bring your average ticket up to $200? Well, you immediately just brought in an additional $900 in revenue just with those same customers. But what if you start focusing on closing rate and you were able to bring in 58 more customers because you're at the 50% closing rate? Let's just say it's the same 150 average ticket. That's $8,700 in revenue. More. Like closing rate, Now you combine closing rate with increasing the average ticket. Let's say the average ticket is $200. That's over $11,000 more in revenue. What if you said, okay, we went out there, we're now starting to get better and better and better in the sales process. We're aiming for a 60% closing ratio. 60% closing ratio, you're looking at 97 more customers you brought in, times 150, it's a minimum of $14,550. If you were at a $200 average ticket, bam, you just increased your revenue by $20,000. $240,000. Almost $250,000 more revenue coming into your store. You want to know why I'm going to get so passionate and so repetitive and so absolutely aggressive about us increasing our closing rate and closing our average ticket, getting that higher? Because this is money for you. This means the difference between you opening 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 stores, or the difference between you scared that you might have to close your store. This is where money is right now, and we've got to go after it. There is nothing more effective than focusing on closing rate and average ticket. That's real money. That's, for some of you, a new car, an extension on your house, and you can afford to keep your kids living with you for as long as they want. Right? This is real money here. So this is how we explode growth. So what's the best way to hit your growth goals? The best way to hit your growth goals is by tracking and constantly improving the acquisition and maintenance of customers. How do we do that? Through increasing the closing ratios, through increasing the average sale, selling the total package, socks, orthotics, shoes, by increasing your retail sales and reducing returns and discounts. There's not a magic pill that you could take. There's not a magic button that you could press that somehow is going to increase your revenue better than this. It's not. Because even if you were able to bring in more customers and you had a winning ad, and bam, your store was flooded with customers, but you don't know how to increase your closing rate and your average ticket, man, that's a costly investment. You're back over there gambling. You're pulling the slot machine hoping that you're going to win. Let's focus on the things that are going to make the biggest difference in our business. Now, here's the thing. It does come down to accountability. You might have had that aha moment. You go, oh, yes, shoot. Wow, this is serious. I got to focus on these things. I can see this is going to make a difference. Guess where it's going to make, where the rubber's going to meet the road? It's now what you're going to do in the sense of accountability, of inspecting what you expect to happen in your store. No matter how great we come with support here at corporate, we will get to the point where we're doing regional trainings. We will get to the point where we're coming in and we have the field consultants coming into your store, and they might spend a day, even if they were able to spend a day every month or a couple days every month. Where the rubber meets the road is whether it's you have an assigned manager or you, if you're an absentee owner, you better have somebody who's holding your staff accountable, and if you don't, and you're an operator owner, then you better be holding your staff accountable to say, this is it, this is the program, this is the system. But let me bring reality in real quick. Some of you, even though I'm stressing this, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, talking with your staff, holding them accountable just to tracking who walked in the door. Starting tomorrow, some of you are going to be motivated, and by the end of the week, by Saturday, you're not even going to have that conversation anymore. Next week, you're going to be focused on something else. And you expect to grow your business. And we can't even have a conversation to say, who walked in our store? How many people did you talk to? It's going to come down to accountability, to inspecting what you expect, to raising the standard and saying, this is it. I can't do it. We can't do it. We're going to have support calls. You might have already got support calls. We can do as best as we can, but I can't go into your staff, and I can't fire your staff. and I can't give your staff a bonus, and I can't give your staff a commission, and I can't go in there and give your staff an account. You know what accountability is? It's also not the negative. It's when you see somebody walk up to a customer with a clipboard in their hand, and they say, hey, welcome to Foot Solutions. I'm Ron, and you are? What brings you in today? I can't go up to them and say, man, that was awesome, high five, great job. And I can't give them a high five when they do the scan the right way, and they're doing the balance test, and they're talking about the total package, and they're overcoming. I can't go in there and give them the rah-rah session and the high five. You can. You're the only one who can. And if you're serious about having a profitable business and having a retirement plan and having the ability to someday sell your business and make a great return, then someone's got to do it. I can't do it. A field consultant can't do it. Ray Margiano can't do it. It's got to be the person whose money is on the line. And if it's a manager, you hold that manager accountable that they're holding people accountable. This is what it comes down to. This is why I'm focusing on this. So, daily accountability. What should those conversations look like? Well, the first thing we said, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You're having a conversation with your sales staff. How many people did you talk to? How many people came in the store? I need to see your sheet. Let me see your clipboard. Oh, you didn't mark anything down? Well, guess what? At 2 o'clock, I'm going to have a conversation with you, and I better see how many people you talk to. And I'm going to talk to you at 4 o'clock, and I better see how many people you talk to. Your money is too valuable to not do that. Obviously, you want to know what they sold for the day. You want to look at, okay, so you talked to 20 people for the day, you talked to 10 people, you made 5 sales, your closing ratio for the day is 50%. Let's look at how much you sold. What's your average sale? Multiple items. We have another level of accountability with the iStep scanner. If you've got the new iStep scanner, the Nova, that does the size and the width, it's part of our sales process. You should be able to go up to that scanner and look and say, okay, how many scans today have you done, Terry? You haven't scanned anybody, but yet you told me you spoke to 4 people. And you told me you spoke to 4 people, you sold 1 thing, but I don't see any scans on the iStep. You're not following the process. Follow the process. I know these are tough. I know this is uncomfortable. I know for some of you this is aggressive. But we are a sales organization. We live and breathe and die by if we're selling or not. We like the pejorative aspect of it. We love helping people with their feet. That's the great, and that's the reward. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if all you did was talk to customers and had good conversations, and you didn't convert anybody, and you didn't increase your closing ratios, you're not successful. You're going to close your door. And how many people can you help? And how many people are going to hug you next month when you closed your door? Nobody. You could look at how many customers walked in today versus last year. You could look at yourself and say how many role plays. If you're an owner where you have the ability to step back a little bit, you can ask your manager, how many role play sessions did you do with your associates today? What did we focus on? Did you have a little pep-up rally in the morning with everybody in the store, and did you tell them what to focus on and what we're going to be focused on and what we're going to be talking about today? No? How about you go into the store one day and at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, at 4 o'clock you say, hey, I need to see all your lifestyle evaluation forms. And they say, what? Yeah, I need to see what you're writing down and what's going on with the customers. I want to see what's trending. Oh, I forgot to write it down. That's an accountability conversation. You look at somebody, they have 6 things. They have 6, even if they have the name, Bill. I spoke to this guy, Bill. All he did was tell me his name. I don't know any other information. He walked out. Okay, you spoke to Bill. Great. Let's see what we can do. Show me what you did with Bill. What did you say to him? How did you greet him? How did you approach him? What did you say next after he said he was just looking? I've got to train a lot of you franchisees how to be sales managers. And if you're an absentee owner, you've got to have somebody who's going to operate as a sales manager. There's no other option. This is the daily accountability. I want to see sheets like this. I want to go in and see, boom, that they're marking down how many people they spoke to. Wednesday, they spoke to 7 people. They closed 3. Okay, that's a 43% closing rate. You spoke to 8 on Thursday. Okay, you sold 4. That's a 50% closing rate. At least this, I could say, okay, I can have accountability. I know I'm passionate about this. I know I'm getting aggressive, and I know I'm getting in your face. I'm getting loud because I'm telling you this is what is going to change your business. If we can't do this, all the other things become secondary. You could be the best podorsist in the world with the most knowledge of every nook and cranny of the foot. You could know how to put an 1/8-inch wedge over here on the lateral side of their foot, and you could say, okay, it's going to make you feel like $1 million. But if you do not sell, and if you do not convert, and you do not track what's going on, that is not the most important thing. We've got to know, we believe in our products, we believe in our solutions, we believe in what we recommend so much that we have to be willing to say that if we can't close customers, we're failing. We are a sales business. Some of you are like, I didn't want to get into sales business. Well, you're in a sales business. Retail is sales. We're a specialty retailer. We don't have 150 people walking through our door a day like a little restaurant. We don't have 150 people walking through our day like a little big box store. A big box store, not a little big box store. Those it's just the numbers. We are a specialty retailer. We take time with people. We ask them questions. We find out what's going on with them. We're touching their feet. We're doing demonstrations with them. We're trying to help them. We're looking at ways to do things that are going to help them feel good. You didn't know that when you got into this business? You think people are just going to walk in and say, yeah, I want this shoe? We don't even put prices on our shoes. Because we are an education-based company. And the education-based company has a big reward of how we help people. You could have opened up a food franchise, and there's hundreds of people buying your burritos. You don't care. You don't have to see them. You don't ever talk to them. Whether they like your burrito or not, it's not a big deal. Bring some more burritos. It's not the business we're in. We're in the business of transforming people. You got into this business for a reason. Because you saw the benefit of, wow, I could actually do something and contribute to something, and I could have some significance in what I do. This is the lifestyle evaluation form. Yes, we could write things like their arch type and their size and where their center of balance is and how rigid their foot is and all these things that are going on. But for me as a sales manager, as for me as the business owner, as for me as the franchisee, as for me as a manager, I'm looking at this sheet to say what is going on with my sales associates and what's going on with the customers who are walking through the door. It's that simple. So our selling process, we're going to start to introduce step by step. We're going to go over it, and I'm going to have a conversation. I want you to turn on your webcam, and I'm going to teach you the importance of why we do this step, and then I'm going to put the pressure on you to say, okay, now let's do it. Let me test you. Let me quiz you. Practice. Imagine that I'm a customer, and you can't shake my hand, but stick your hand out and pretend you're shaking my hand. We're going to have these conversations. I will do my best 3 times a week for right now to work with you and your sales associates. But the selling process is going to take time. Understand this. Selling is a skill. Just like riding a bike, just like learning how to play chess, learning how to play golf, selling is a skill. No one is born a salesperson. That's a bunch of baloney. They are not born a salesperson. They might have modeled somebody who was a good speaker, a good talker. They might have learned it through different businesses. But the ability to sell is a skill that must be developed, must be practiced, and must be learned. The first step, though, is starting with a clear strategy. Why do we approach a customer this way? Why do you say this? What happens if they go ahead and say, I'm just looking? Do you know how to go ahead and make them feel at ease so you can start the conversation back up again? Do you know where your body should be, how you should be positioned with your body? Do you know how to shake a customer's hand? And I'm just talking about the greeting and the approach. Because, listen, amateurs wing it. They go in there and say, okay, well, this is just what I do. Customer walks in, you walked up and said, how can I help you? They said, I'm just looking, and you walked right back behind the counter. And then they left 3 minutes later, and then you're wondering, oh, well, that was weird. I guess they didn't want anything. No! It's because you're winging it. Professionals practice and practice and practice. Selling is a skill. Being a good podorthist is a skill. You had to sit in the class. We had to give you as much information. We had to give you some scenarios to practice, but then you had to get someone's feet in your hand, and you had to feel that bone that felt out of place. You had to feel that callus. You could see that their foot was rigid. You got to practice. We have a strategy with our podorthic aspect of our business. There's a strategy to it, and there's a strategy to the selling part of it. Now, how much time is necessary to learn the skills of selling? What do you think? To really become a proficient, effective, professional, how much time do you think is necessary to really understand and master selling? Not going to happen from watching this video and going through the videos that we release and the training courses that we release. It's not going to happen because I spent 2 days with you live and I was able to role play with you. That's just the basis. It's not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen in 30 days. I've seen it happen in 60 to 90 days where someone could start implementing a system. We've got to make it simple. This is, let me just say something. Some of you guys get so advanced and so heady. You know what I mean with that? You get in your head so much about the podorthic aspect of what you're doing. You make it so complicated where we have to say, okay, how can we make it simpler? How can we make it simpler that I could get to the recommendation and the solution as quick as possible? Selling is the same thing. You've got to go ahead and think about, what are you going to say when a customer says, I'm just looking? What are you going to say when a customer says, well, I really got to check with my spouse? What are you going to say when a customer says, well, I need to shop around? I can get these on the Internet. I mean, what's the difference between these and Dr. Scholl's? I know the running store that I go to down the block, they say they have good inserts, and, I can't afford it right now. What are you going to say? And if you don't practice this, you're winging it. So understand that selling is a skill. My question for you right now, and I'm going to end this call. How much time have you devoted to becoming a professional in the sales arena? How much time have you devoted to training your associates, role-playing, practicing, accountability, high-fiving them, listening to what they're saying, having conversations with them while they're out there on the sales floor? How much time have you done doing that? This is your business. These are your profits. This is your future. This is your retirement. If you're not devoting an hour a day to it, an hour, is that too much to devote? Once you get it there and you could delegate to your associates, now you're just having follow-up accountability conversations, and you're keeping them on track and challenging them and seeing how we could constantly improve. Some of you haven't devoted an hour to the whole time you've been with Foot Solutions. We're going to do our part. I'm going to work with you. We're doing training 3 times a week. The sales process has begun. The training of it has begun. You've got to take this serious, folks. I don't think there's anything more important than doing this. So, I'll continue with that on another class. Hopefully this helped you. You see what here? You need a paradigm shift. It's not about marketing. It's not about gambling and pulling the slots and hoping you get some more business. Comes down to following a process and following a system and practicing it and role-playing it and getting it in, and then you can have a system that's duplicatable, then you can finally take a vacation, then you can finally go home and see your family a little bit more, and you can enjoy your life a little bit more because you're following and implementing a process. To me, there's nothing else more important than what we're talking about right here and how you're going to grow your business. Hopefully this helped you. Thank you for being on today. I appreciate those of you who are on. I appreciate those who have watched this. If you are watching this on Bloomfire, would you chat down at the bottom and let me know that you got something out of this? Put a little comment in the comment section. Give me a high five, at least that I know that you're here and you're watching this and you paid attention and this made sense for you. Will you do that? Go for outstanding, folks. Have a great day.